here for Motorboats Monthly today out in Greifswald, which is in northeast Germany, and this is now the home of Sealine. Sealine, as we know, have had a little bit of a up and down of late, but this is very much on the up. They're now owned by Hans, part of a very large group out here in Germany, and this is the first all Hans boat. It's the Sealine F380. And we'll give you a quick look around the boat. We did see this boat in Dusseldorf, so you may have seen the video, but just to give you a quick recap. First of all, we'll start out here. These seats are an excellent feature. This is an optional extra, but what you can do with these is drop them back, and that gives you a fantastic aft-facing area when you're anchored up or in port as we are now. Moving into the cockpit, the classic Sealine feature, of course, is these moulded in steps. It's something that they pioneered, and it's something they've kept pretty much throughout their range ever since. The teak cockpit floor, that's standard, and one word you're going to hear a lot of in this video from me is storage, and it starts out here because there's a big storage area down underneath here just ahead of the engines. Up here on the flybridge, it's a pretty sensible layout really. You've got a double helm seat over on this side. The backrest of this will flip forward to give you more seating around the table back here, and then there's a little sun pad on here with a lift up section, so you can either have it facing forward or you can drop that flat and have that as more sunbathing area. But the one thing I do particularly like is these high sides. When you're up here, you don't feel like you're on the boat, you feel like you're in it, and I think that's a really good feature. So moving inside the boat, the layout is fairly conventional. You've got a saloon here, you've got an owner's cabin forward, you've got a guest cabin, you've got two heads, but the way that it's been laid out is really, really good. But before we get to that, the one thing I promised you was storage, and they have it here in abundance. There's storage in underneath here, there's storage behind here, there's storage under the seats, there's storage in behind the locker here. But there's also an absolutely cavernous storage locker underneath my feet just here. So down here in the galley there's a couple of neat features. Nice high level oven here. It's a gas oven in this one. You can have electric if you go all electric with a generator, and there's a gas hob underneath here. A nice little detail is they've got a place to put these lids tucked away under here. But let's get back to the S word, storage. It is everywhere. It's behind here, it's in here. There are drawers underneath here, and they're soft close. Even tucked it away under the stairs just here, bins under here, and yet more storage under here. There is no stone unturned. Finally, while we're in this area of the boat, we've got the day toilet in through here. There's a freshwater flush loo in there, and there's also a shower that pulls out if you want to use it as a shower. Also on this level over here on the starboard side is the guest cabin. That's probably the only area on the boat that does feel a little bit compromised. The ceiling is fairly low, and the changing area just inside the door is got full height, but it's perhaps a little bit smaller than you might like. But I have to say, of course, it is a 38-foot boat, and frankly, if that's the only area of compromise you can find, you're doing pretty well. So this is where that compromise in the guest cabin pays off, because what Sealine have done is they've put the bulkhead for this area right back here. It means you get this tremendous lobby area through here and a big area at the foot of the bed, so you've got masses of room to get changed, and it feels a bigger cabin than you would expect on a boat of this size. There's an opaque skylight in the ceiling here, and there's a massive run of hatches above us here, the front one of which opens, so there's loads of light gets thrown into this room. And of course, storage everywhere. Both sides, you can have hanging lockers on both sides, or on this particular boat they've actually shelved it out, and then there's a big drawer underneath the bed, and then more storage around on a higher level. And the final real lovely feature about this boat is in here, because this is the owner's ensuite. So this is the master ensuite, and a couple of nice features in here. First of all, masses of headroom, but the other thing is there's lots of light in here because they've put another opaque skylight above here. The thing that I particularly like, however, is it has a separate shower stall, so you can actually close this area off and you're not spraying the whole heads with water when you're having a shower, and that's really quite a nice big boat feature. Finally, of course, would you believe it, masses of storage. Tucked away in there, tucked away behind there, and down under the sink as well. So that's a look through the boat, and we're going to take her out to sea now and give her a run and see how she handles. But before we do that, just time for one last bit of storage. So we're out here at sea now on the boat, and this particular boat has got the Volvo D6 330 horsepower engines. Those are the biggest engines that Sealine are putting in. There'll also be a D4 300 and a D4 260. But this engine I think is particularly well judged for this boat. If we drop her into gear, The pickup onto the plane is pretty good. You lose a little bit of visibility just as she's climbing onto the plane, as you'd expect, but as soon as that nose drops, you can see where you're going pretty well, and that's where we're at now. The most interesting thing I find is that, bearing in mind this is a stern drive boat and therefore the weight of the engines is right at the very back, and they are big engines. My concern was a little bit that we might get a lot of tail weight and that might drag the back of the boat down, but in fact it's not the case. The visibility remains good, but interestingly also, with the tabs down and the trims in, you can drop it right back to about 15, 14, maybe right down to 12 knots at one point, and the boat still remains on the plane. The visibility is still good, and that's a really impressive facet. I think the last thing that's worth talking about with this boat is the handling, because it is a big, comfortable flybridge boat. And therefore you wouldn't really expect it to be the sort of thing you can throw around. Probably, to be fair, you wouldn't. But if you want to, it does actually handle very well. You can put it into a turn, and as you can see, it's surprising how much angle you can get with it. It's probably not the sort of thing you're going to want to go out and do, but it's nice to know that it will do it if you want to. It's also nice to know that if you do need to make an emergency direction change, you can do it and the boat will respond.